settled in a very, very densely populated neighborhood starting in the late 1800s. And the author of this memoir had to move there from Dracut when his father, with no warning at all, left his mother and his son. And the mom could not afford to live in Dracut. She had an aunt who lived in Little Canada, and because it was something of a slum in places, the rents were cheaper. So Charlie moves into Little Canada in spring of 1963. He's afraid, he's intimidated, but he makes friends. He learns to value some of the very strange characters in the neighborhood, one of whom is Captain Jack, a homeless man who drinks quite a bit, but gets a meal ticket at a local diner from the owner of Harvey's Bookland. So it is now 1964. Urban renewal is in full swing. The neighborhood is being demolished. People are being evicted house by house, tenement by tenement. And Charlie is one of the last families that's going to be leaving. So the place is empty. You can walk through the streets. Many of the tenements are empty. But Captain Jack, the homeless man who has befriended Charlie and his gang, meets Charlie on the street. Captain Jack put out his hand and we shook it. I shook it. Matey, I need to ask you one more favor. Promise me you'll look in on Harvey. I'm worried he's going to miss me terribly. Can you make sure he's okay? He's such a generous man. In fact, Harvey taught this old sea dog a lesson. You see, when I first met Harvey, he had just opened his Aiken Street store. I dropped in to get out of the cold, and an old bum looking for warmth doesn't often get a nice welcome. But Harvey not only chatted me up, he asked if I needed a few bucks. Normally I would have felt offended, because if I need to beg for a bit of change here and there, I do the asking. But he didn't say it with pity. He meant it like a man who saw his own brother cold and hungry. The next time I dropped in, he quietly slipped a meal ticket in my hand that gave me a free meal every day at Willette's Diner. Again, my first reaction was to be upset, but before I even had a chance to speak, he squeezed my hand and said, "You'd do the same for me. Don't deny it." Then he winked. Wouldn't the world be a much better place if we accepted genuine kindness and encouraged good-heartedness? We seem to be uncomfortable with more uncomfortable with acts of generosity than acts of greed. I accepted Harvey's help because it fed his heart as much as it did my stomach. Now, I won't be here to feed his heart, so please, Charlie, check on him and help keep that kind heart beating strong. Now this is Charlie. I did all I could to hold back my tears as he walked me home. When we got there, he shook my hand, gave me a wink, and said, "This is so long, matey. Don't say anything to Harvey. I'll send him a postcard after I leave. Now keep that promise you made to your mother, boy, and keep your chin up. Mates like us are always linked and will stay that way in this world and the next." Then he drifted off with a wave and never looked back. All these thoughts about Aunt Rose, Captain Jack, and my friends flooded my mind as I sat for the last night in my room. My mom went out shopping with a friend who had a car. I asked if I could just stay home since I wanted to spend my last night there. I knew she wasn't going to be back until probably 10 p.m., so I slipped out the door and wandered down the alley to Austin Street. Then I crossed the street and sat on our old stoop of the now empty building where my friends used to live, and reminiscing about the games we played, talks we had, and Beatles songs we listened to. After a while, I wandered up the mostly deserted street until I got to the vacant urban renewal office, boarded up and closed now that the people working there had finished their work. I stood next to it on the corner of Austin and Moody and looked toward the second floor window where my Aunt Rose used to sit and watch me play. Then, making sure nobody could see me, I pounded the large board covering the storefront and shattered the large plate glass window behind the board. I raced across the street, shaking my fist in triumph toward the spirit of Aunt Rose, watching from her empty apartment. I blew a kiss to everyone and disappeared into the dark alley that led to my stairway. There was no way I could have moved on without doing something to say goodbye to those I'd lost and to signal to those who had done this that I would return. And the story behind this is that Charlie, the author of the memoir, went on to be the founder of the Coalition for a Better Acre, which managed, a decade or two later, to save a lot of the housing around here. So, you know, it's just very moving. You have to have read the whole thing. But the richness of the relationships in a place that other people were eager to knock down is what comes through in the memoir. So I highly recommend it.
Cheers. Thanks, Suzanne. I implore you that if you have any interest in Kerouac and his French-Canadian connections, I'm going to make a bold statement here that Suzanne, Roger Brunel was Roger Brunel, but Suzanne Beebe has knowledge about this connection that not many of you have. Seek her out, talk to her, she's a good friend. Thanks, Suzanne. Cheers. Okay, next up to the microphone we have
The Butcher. Oh, I saw that.
He is from Drake. Is he from Drake or is he from somewhere else? He is the Butcher.
Yeah. Let's take the safe route.
Jay, keep clapping, people. Keep clapping. He hasn't gone there yet. He's getting there.
Here I am. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, it's good to be here in the upstairs of the Worthen house. I know, I'm not going to do a long introduction because some of you guys know me, I can be kind of wordy. So we'll just keep it simple. This is for something, in honor of something that I think we all can identify with. But now that a certain something has been legalized, it's kind of pointless. So we'll memorialize it, as you can see, I've been living my poem. This is, of course, grew out of my experiences at Stone Soup Poetry down in Cambridge many, many moons ago. I was going to say I was from the other side of the moon, but we're already there. Anyway, all you writers in the house, in the Hizzow, and some of you who drive along and come with great lines, you have a bunch of great lines you can never do anything with, right? This is what you do with it. All right? I call them anything named lost lines, ode to lost lines, memory lost lines. It's all these little scribbles of paper everywhere. And it becomes this. It's in plastic. Alright, so it's Ode of Lost Lines to the Back Alley Poet Society. Flashback in the car park. Back alley car park. Overwhelming urge to cry, poet fellowship. Graffiti on wall. Fund abortion. Abort God. Appropriate food. Rumpled writer sparks. Poets bright. Gotta wear shades. Cheap sun specks at night. Senators depth perception. Underside Denison blues. A cultural wasteland. Scenes, cream, circle, joints, session. Refreshing fresh air. Refreshing fresh air. Refreshing fresh air. In between sets, bull session. Dumpster rat wasteland. Top deck garage down here in Lowell, actually. Watch for blues. Whoop whoop, it's the sound of the bees. Whoop whoop, it's the sound of the bees. Am I dating myself? I have to, because no one else will. Open doors of perception. Caffeine-powered night. Jack Kerouac, that's cool. Caffeine-powered night! Lights too bright. Go wear yellow lens shades. Round tea, friendship sparks. Anyone still? Anyone? Got squares, man. Poetry and food. If creek don't rise, grace of God. Fuck the time on the wall. Fuck the time on the wall. Poets Fellowship. Surrender, begin to cry. Back alley car park. Back alley car park. Surrender and cry. To dark back alley car park. Poets Fellowship. Hoy hoy, oh baps. What a bunch of gals and chaps. Agape behind the scene. Fellowship around the green. And someone's always got raps. Raps. Always got raps. Good night, Back Alley Poet Society. Wherever you are, good night. John Sinclair is a lifetime member of the Back Alley Poet Society. Thank you very much. I am the Busha, the king of poetry.
Keep clapping, everybody. Keep clapping. Tom, thank you so much. You are delicious and disgusting. All right, thank you. All right, next up, number 4 on our list, a friend from New Jersey, who many of you know. Please give a great welcome to Roxanne Brennan.
Hello, fellow Kerouacians. I had a little trouble getting here this year, and I just wrote this morning, so I may suck. Last week I started to pack, to come back to Jack, to see my Dharma bums and my mad ones. The car had other plans. The Brits decided to go in the parking lot of the Bath & Body Works, which is where I work as a side hustle, because being a university professor does not pay well.
What?
Being incredibly stupid, because I am a slow learner, I chugged the car to a local firehouse, conveniently only a block from where Ed lives. I called AAA. My AAA membership had expired, because I am a slow learner. I called Ed. He said, call the captain of the firehouse, a friend of mine who is a goth firefighter. not at the same time. He came to be with me and stay with me, and finally I went back to Ed's where I got some food. I wanted to go on my Satori in Lowell, but it didn't happen that night. The tow truck allegedly arriving at 8:10. Anyone want to guess when it showed up? The following day at 3:45 a.m. I don't even want to be doing something I like at 3:45 a.m. The two gentlemen of indeterminate origin that came to take the truck proceeded to drive me an hour back to where I lived, rolling in at 5 as the sun began to arc in the sky, and I staggered to bed. My roommate is a large Wagnerian woman of great stature and intimidation, and she prayed and said the next day her husband would fix the brakes. He did not. He tried. I paid for parts, I paid for his labor, but he came in saying dejectedly, "Roxanne has to rent a car." The Wagnerian woman took me to the Enterprise. I was sure to ask if they take a debit card. I don't have a credit card because the university does not pay as well, and I am irresponsible and unreliable. They did. Previously that week, my cat died. 16 years old, 3-legged, and she chose that week to shuffle off her mortal coil. So I was already in a bit of a downer, and I thought, Kerouac will do it for me. Jack loved cats, yes? We know this. So I thought I will go to this festival in my cat Weasley's honor. Yes, she was orange, hence Weasley. But it looked like it wasn't going to happen, and I thought, what would Jack do? And Jack answered, take a bus. There was no bus to Lowell. I would have had to take 3 buses, totaling 19 hours worth of travel. Again, I don't want to do something I like for 18, 19 hours worth of travel. And I asked, what would Jack do? Jack said, I don't know. I don't drive. Find a friend. The only friend I had was the Wagnerian woman. Roxanne has to rent a car. Enterprise. Yes, they take debit cards. Yes, I could do a deposit of $300, but I needed 2 utility bills in my name, which I don't have because I rent, because I have no credit, because I am irresponsible and unreliable and a slow learner. Sighing, the Wagnerian woman looked up another car agency. I called them. Do you take Apple Pay, knowing I had lost my debit card? Yes. Do I need 2 utility bills in my name? No. Do I need to be responsible and reliable? No. That's me all over. So I went, the Wagnerian woman taking me there. I'm all excited. I pick a car. I present my phone, and they say to me, you didn't pass the credit check. And I said, what would Jack do? And Jack answered, I never had a job for more than 3 weeks at a time. Don't ask me. I had no credit either. The Wagnerian woman took me back home. We went to yet a 3rd car rental agency. This one only took credit cards, agreed to take a debit card with a large cash deposit, which I had on hand, but they didn't take Apple Pay. I had to go to the bank to get a replacement debit card. My bank is in Philadelphia, an hour away. The Wagnerian woman passive-aggressively began to ask me, what lessons have we learned from this? Not to be irresponsible and unreliable. And I said, what would Jack do? And Jack said, I'd just have sex with her, but that was not on the table for me. I go to the bank in Philadelphia. I get a new card, all excited. I come back to the third car rental agency, and I said, here you go, let me have my card. And they said, your driver's license does not match the address that you say that you live. And I said, I know, I just moved. And I said, what would Jack do? And Jack said, I had a different address every 6 months, don't ask me. I go home all depressed. Roxanne cannot rent a car. The husband of the Wagnerian woman continued to labor and labor. I was just a lonesome traveler wanting to get on the road. And finally, he came in dangling my keys and said, go, for the love of God, go. The trip was supposed to, by Google, take only 4 hours and 12 minutes. 9 hours later, because the entire state of New York, Connecticut, Connecticut, thank you, the Merritt Turnpike is going to be the first thing against the wall when the proletariat revolution comes. All right, there you go. Chugging along at 30 miles an hour, and I thought, what would Jack do? And Jack answered, hitchhike. You can walk faster than this. Eventually, I get to the house of the friend who agreed to house me. She has COVID. And I thought, what would Jack do? Find a flop house. It was much too late for that, so I agreed I would just stay away from this poor woman, wear my mask, da-da-da. And finally, I am here, and I said, for one last time, what would Jack do? And Jack answered, stay the hell home. Thank you. True, all is true.
Lowell celebrates Kerouac cause. He needs a hug. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. That was a great story. And I'd argue one of the best storytellers that comes to these open mics. Take that to the bank, people. I don't say stuff that's not true. Next, to the microphone. Thank you, Roxanne. That was awesome. Awesome, as usual. Next to the microphone, we have a poet that really last year blew my mind with one of his stories, and I'm really hoping he brings it tonight. He's from Danvers, the town right next door to Topsfield where I live. He is, and he has worked where I work as well, as an English teacher. Please give a warm welcome to, from Danvers, Joe Boyd. Here he comes. This is his microphone. Cheers.
What did you want me to do?
I thought you signed up to...
No, you said I did a poem last week. You wanted.
It was the pumpkin poem, the story, yeah, I love it. I love it.
And then I'll do I did this poem last week. A pumpkin or something was there in my yard. I tried to move it, but that was too hard. I tried to rock it, to roll it, but no, it was too big. It just wouldn't go. It was big and green and round like a ball. This must be the biggest pumpkin of all. I called my friend Julie. I asked her to come. She had her new shoes on and a hurt thumb, but said she would help me. We both pushed it hard, but we couldn't move it 1 inch in the yard. It's not a pumpkin. See what I mean, said Julie, still puffing. Pumpkins aren't green, their color is orange. And this big they can't grow. Then what is it, I said. But she didn't know. We called to my father. Dad, come on out. We don't know what it is, but it's here without doubt. It's big and green with a pumpkin look, but bigger and greener. Bring your gardener's book. My father came out. We said, this thing won't budge. He said, step aside, I'll just give it a nudge. And he pushed and he pushed and I said, bless my soul, when it started to rock and it started to roll, Dad, is it a pumpkin? So big and so green? If it is, it's the biggest one we've ever seen. He said that it might be a dinosaur's eye, or a little spaceship from out of the sky, or an egg of a huge bird he'd once seen. He remembered that bird had the same color green. He put his ear to its side and he squinted one eye to hear a big baby bird or green men from the sky. It's quiet, he said. I don't hear a peep. The bird might be too small yet, or the green men asleep. But if this is a dinosaur's eye that is here, it won't make a sound if I listen all year. So why don't we wait? Let's just give it a week, and every day we'll all take a peek and listen for any sounds from inside, and ask around about dinosaurs that are only one-eyed. So we waited that week, and we thought a lot about what it might be and what it might not. But no dinosaurs came through our yard on the prowl, and no little green men jumped out with a howl. At the end of the week, we stood out in the yard with no new ideas, though we all thought so hard. And then Julie said, there it is, I was right. I jumped in Dad's arms. I was so full of fright, and just as I thought it was going to hatch, Julie said, see that orange patch? Right, said Dad, it's starting to turn. To where is it turning? I wanted to learn. To orange, said Dad. See that orange spot? In a few days, you'll see a lot. It's a pumpkin, said Julie. It changes from green. It'll be the biggest orange pumpkin we've ever seen. Well, at first, I was sad that it wasn't an eye or an egg or a spaceship from out of the sky. But then I thought about Halloween. I'll have the biggest orange pumpkin I've ever seen. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Well done.
This is not a three-legged cat. But this poem is called Do Cats. Do cats, when they awake from one of their innumerable daily slumbers, emerge from that fog thinking, where am I? Is it Tuesday? Whoa, I thought I was in a tree in the yard, and here I am on the windowsill. Silly me, now I remember. I was watching a bird in that tree. Do cats emerge to a conscious state from sleeping in or sleeping late? So they don't care if it's Tuesday. But do they have to find themselves at some point in time? Are cats as conscious as I am conscious of them? There goes my cat now. I observe him as he walks. Perhaps he is preoccupied. He doesn't notice me. Perhaps he's sleepwalking. Yes, that's it, sleepwalking. But then, I don't have a cat. Observations on an imaginary cat. My imaginary cat came back the other day, so I guess that old saying is true even about imaginary cats. Though he did not stay long. I think I bore him. Perhaps I'm too predictable. He sees right through me. Of course, all I do is observe him. I never pet or hold him. His behavior is what interests me. So why should he give me the time of day? But he did come back. Pete. All right. Thank you. Who's the last one? Not a three-legged cat. Beating a dead cat. What does this say about me that my very own imaginary cat is bored with me, ignores me? Perhaps I should engage him or give him a treat. Play with him. Look at him there. He's yawning. He's sleeping again. Cats are like that. Maybe next time. The cat is awake. He's stretching, yawning, but definitely awake. If I only had a piece of string or an imaginary ball of yarn, I could catch his eye. I haven't seen a real ball of yarn in years. I would look for something that might appeal to him. But if I take my eye off him, he might disappear. Why couldn't a dust bunny roll by? I haven't vacuumed lately, and the window's open. Come on, cat, do something. This eternal indifference will definitely have negative effects on me. Please, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Actually 2, I should set the clock back. It's been weeks, mid-November already. Soon, paw prints in the snow. Paw prints in the snow. Paw prints in the snow. Everywhere you go, paw prints in the snow. Don't they seem to say, he went that away. Paw prints in the snow. I think I'll name him Morrison. Here, Morrison. Pretty Morrison. Thank you.